The most common superpower amongst superheroes and supervillains is of course superhuman strength, and naturally with superhuman strength comes some superhuman beatdowns. When fist starts flying and the ground quakes from each blow landed, you know you're in for a spectacle. Before we begin, please like, share and subscribe to our channel. Every new sub helps us achieve our goal and keeps us motivated to create new content with you in mind. With that being said, I am your host Sarah, and here are 10 brutal superhero beatdowns, live action edition. Enjoy. Number 1. Captain America Civil War. Captain America Civil War introduced the audience to the Marvel Cinematic Universe's Phase 3 of their Macedonic Infinity Saga, an era which is often cited as the golden age of the franchise. Civil War sees Captain America and Iron Man go shield to metal fist as they are in a disagreement over new legislation placing restrictions on superhero beings. General Ross, as well as the world governments, demonstrate past recklessness on the part of the Avengers, citing several past incidences from the previous films. So, the Sokovia Accords have been drawn up, requiring oversight from the Avengers. Tony Stark and Steve Rogers have butted heads since the original Avengers, but they're drifting apart as well as the whole group. They are all really teed off in the Avengers Age of Ultron over Tony's reckless creation of the robotic AI villain, Ultron. The end of Civil War ends with a truly epic brawl between Iron Man, Captain America and Bucky, aka the Winter Soldier, when Iron Man discovers it was the Winter Soldier who killed his parents and Steve knew the entire time. The fight is wonderfully choreographed, scene of fist fighting, shield chucking and hand laser blasting. There are also iconic scenes ripped directly from the comic that will have even the most bitter Marvel nerds leap out of their seat with glee. So check it out on Disney+, Amazon, Google, Fandango and YouTube. Don't start barking again, Una. Number 2. Man of Steel. Man of Steel marks a seminal entry in the hotly debated DC Extended Universe, although it was never intended to launch the DC EU according to the director Zack Snyder. It was Warner Bros.' decision after the monumental success of the 2012 Marvel's The Avengers. The studio wanted to quickly compete with the MCU. Man of Steel stars Henry Cavill as a titular character. Cavill's iteration of Superman and Clark Kent has been praised by fans and critics alike, even when his films are not. Man of Steel marks a change from previous silver screen interpretations of the iconic character. Not only is the film itself darker, but the film also sees Clark Kent at odds with his abilities and coming to terms with his own identity. Man of Steel sees Clark grow up, discover who he is and his role amongst humanity. Things go south when survivors and criminals of his own destroyed planet Krypton, led by the ruthless General Zod, come to terraform Earth. The showdown between him and Superman is really fucking cool. It's a lot of flying, punching, laser beam eyes and utter destruction of landscape, with Snyder's signature uninhibited style. The brawl was once described to me as what a live-action Dragon Ball Z should look like. That being said, what really made this an iconic emotional fight is Superman had to make the choice to kill Zod by breaking his neck to protect humanity. You can watch the otherworldly showdown on Max, Amazon, Google, Fandango and Google again. Number 3. The Avengers Age of Ultron. Avengers Age of Ultron is arguably one of the most underrated pre-Endgame MCU films and the lowest grossing of the Avenger films, but that didn't stop it from being a box office behemoth. Despite the unsurmountable hype around the film, it was never going to live up to In the Shadow of the Marvel Game Changer. The Avengers Age of Ultron does a pretty good job of telling a story and setting up future films, including Captain America: Civil War. Age of Ultron sees Earth's mightiest heroes begin to fracture as Tony Stark, with the help of Bruce Banner, use Loki's staff to create an AI to protect the world. Unfortunately, those good intentions go horribly wrong when they create the robotic villain Ultron, voiced brilliantly by James Spader. Avengers Age of Ultron also treated fans with one of the coolest smackdowns in the MCU. Tony Stark in his iconic Hulkbuster armour facing off against the Hulk. At this point in the MCU, Hulk was one of, if not the most powerful beings audiences were aware of. So for him to lose it and not being on the Avengers side is pretty terrifying. This fight led Bruce Banner to a lot of distress after seeing all the damage he had done and possible lives he may have taken. It was also the first time we saw the Hulk get knocked out, which was being rapid fire punched in the head by a giant Hulkbuster fist. Also, I'm a fan of cars being tossed and smashed like a tin can, but only on screen. Please leave my Corolla alone. For this and many other reasons, Age of Ultron is essential MCU viewing. Watch it over on Disney+, Amazon, Google, YouTube and Fandango. Lot will do. Number 4. The Dark Knight Rises. Legendary filmmaker Christopher Nolan ended his Dark Knight trilogy on a high note in 2012's The Dark Knight Rises. Although it never reached the high of The Dark Knight, it was a little uneven. It was still hell of a slam bang conclusion to the Nolan-verse Dark Knight saga. The Dark Knight Rises saw the Caped Crusader going against the only villain who ever broke Batman in the comics. Fact check that. Quite literally, Bane. Bane is a supped up, or more like roided up enemy, built like a brick shit house. He's also a brilliant tactician, something we didn't get to see from Batman and Robin's iteration of him. In that film, he was portrayed as a meathead and Poison Ivy's lackey. The Dark Knight Rises gives us a one-on-one brawl between the two bulky beefcakes. Batman typically uses stealth and the cover of darkness to give him an upper hand. He wasn't even given a chance against Bane, as he was born in the darkness and raised in it. Bane's brute force was no match for Batman, and he could take a punch. Academy Award-winning actor Tom Hardy played the muscular behemoth Bane, and he truly had an understated performance. Bane eventually bodies Batman over his knee, cracking his spine in the process. The Dark Knight Rises from that point on was Bruce Wayne, Batman, recuperating and training to peak performance. Stream the film on Max, Sling, Fandango, Google, YouTube and Amazon. I hate the position of the camera. I want to get it more like angled. I can't do that. Number 5. Deadpool and Wolverine. This one was a no-brainer. How could we even make an ultimate superhero beatdown list without including Deadpool vs Wolverine? Fans have been frothing at the mouth for this since the Merc with a Mouth was introduced in X-Men Origins Wolverine. The film was met with negative reception by critics and considered one of the low points of the X-Men franchise. However, everyone could agree that Hugh Jackman was great, as always, and so was Ryan Reynolds playing Wade Wilson. Fox really fucked up Wade's alter ego, Deadpool, as Weapon X. Luckily for everyone though, in 2016, audiences were blessed with a true solo Deadpool film, which R rating generally shook things up in the industry. It was such a massive commercial and critical success, we eventually got a whole trilogy. However, after Deadpool 2, Disney acquired Fox, and everyone wondered how they would implement such a hard R franchise into the MCU. All those naysayers were proven wrong when Deadpool vs Wolverine went to the hardest of Rs. The third film sees Deadpool seeking out a Wolverine in the multiverse because he's what is known as an anchor being. A universe without an anchor being one eventually fades from existence. I actually find this concept beyond fascinating. The Wolverine Deadpool finds is at his lowest. and him and Deadpool clash. Don't get me wrong, this film is full of awesome fights, but this one is iconic on so many levels, and it takes place in and a little bit around a Honda Odyssey. At this point in the film, Deadpool and Wolverine are absolutely heated, and when Wolverine lays down a gut-wrenching verbal assault on Deadpool, the most hardcore close quarters brawl goes down. The sequence requires a lot of tight shots and editing, while still maintaining the scope and brutality of what's being shown. The filmmakers succeed with flying colours, and Wolverine using his blades absolutely unencumbered is super satisfying as it comes with all the stabbing, slicing and blood splatter we don't usually get to see. Plus, since it is a Deadpool film, after all, You Were the One That I Want from Greece is playing during the throwdown. The fight within the movie time lasts over 12 hours too, so yes, the Honda Odyssey fucks hard. Please sponsor us. So check it out, Disney Plus, Amazon, Google and Fandango. You're the one I want. Wrong one. Number 6, X2 X-Men United. X2 X-Men United hit theatres in May of 2003 with rave reviews and huge box office numbers. It is widely regarded as a sequel that is an improvement over its also acclaimed predecessor. X2 had improved effects, more impressive action sequences with more expansive story and themes. Director Bryan Singer and screenwriter Michael Dougherty were largely influenced by the critical smash hit X-Men the Animated Series when they were developing their live-action incarnation of the beloved X-Men. The filmmakers also looked to the popular comic storyline House of M to inform them for X2. In the film, the X-Men are forced to team up with Magneto and his team to face a huge, greater threat, that being humanity, mainly in William Stryker, who had discovered a way to control and easily kill mutants in the mass. In the past, the X-Men films has been accused of using mutants as a plot device to stage action sequences. But in the filmmakers' defense, they can't develop what amounts to dozens of characters in one film. So a handful will get development and the rest get quick characterizations and are often used in incredible fight sequences. That was the case with Lady Deathstrike when she went head to head with Wolverine. Both characters have a subtle healing factor and have the invincible metal adamantium grafted into their skeletons. Both also have retractable metallic adamantium claws. Lady Deathstrike's are more claw-like and come out of her fingertips, while Wolverine's retract from in between his knuckles. The sublimely crafted fight betwixt Wolverine and Lady Deathstrike is a combination of martial arts, waifu, as well as flurry of stabbing, slashing and punching. The actress Kelly Hu, who portrays Lady Deathstrike, has a black belt in Kung Fu, which the already impressive choreo benefited greatly from. The final blow to Lady Deathstrike is also iconic. She is stabbed in the stomach with an apparatus used to pump liquid adamantium, which she becomes so full of it starts bleeding out of her eyes and mouth. What's really painful about this scene is she wasn't acting in her own free will, and I believe the spell that was over her just ended just before she dies horrifically. Experience the blades on blade clash on Disney Plus, Fandango, Google, YouTube and Amazon. Oh my god, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing loads of things wrong. I'm still ill. I can feel it in my face. Number 7. Blade 2. Audiences were introduced to the silver screen iteration of the infamous anti-hero Blade in 1998, and comic books and films were changed forever. Not only did Blade continue the 90s goth resurgence, the film was also pinnacle of the 90s cyberpunk that would round out the 90s with The Matrix in 1999. It also pulled Marvel from bankruptcy. Blade is based off the Marvel comic book character Blade. This series is led by Wesley Snipes as the titular character in his arguably most influential role. Blade is half human, half vampire, with all the strengths of a vampire and none of the weaknesses. He is cool. It all boils down to the revenge story against other vampires, as one of them killed his mother. Most of the vampire lore in Blade is consistent with traditional lore. They need to feast on blood, they have superhuman abilities, and are weak against sunlight, etc. 2002's Blade 2 introduced a much more dangerous, mutated vampire that requires Blade to work together with a team of elite vampires originally designed to take him out. While the script wasn't as tight as the original, Blade 2 makes up for it in stylish action, a great ensemble which includes future Hellboy Ron Perlman, and much more horrifying baddies. Plus, Blade 2 was directed by Oscar-winning Spanish filmmaker Del Toro, and his flair and thematic wake are more than apparent. The final battle in Blade 2 is between a super vampire Nomak, who basically matches Blade in strength and fighting style. They are acrobatically fighting on wooden beams, which only adds tension for unbalanced folks like me. And every hit they deliver to one another is like Iron Mike's one-ton punch. They are consistently breaking the environment and go flying through the air. You can catch Blade 2 in one of the best one-on-one fights on Amazon, Fandango, Google and YouTube. And I highly recommend it. Love the Blade series, grew up watching them. Number 8, Spider-Man 2. Sam Raimi's second outing for Spider-Man, simply titled Spider-Man 2, raised the bar for comic book films and sequels, and is still one of the GOATs amidst the genre. The hotly anticipated sequel was released in the summer of 2004, with rave reviews that applauded across the whole board, and it had improvements over the first, from its breathtaking actions to its weighty, darker tones. This was an impressive feat given the near-unanimous positive reception that the original Spider-Man received. Both films even had a special marketing push TV spot. After their release, the Spider-Man himself would swing through the positive quotes from all the critics. The TV spot exalting the films as the best reviewed film of their respective year. Tobey Maguire returned as the titular web-slinger in Spider-Man 2 to tackle one of his greatest foes, the weight of living, today, but also Dr. Otto Octavius, aka Dr. Octopus, aka Doc Ock. In the films, Dr. Octavius was discovered a way to harness power through nuclear fusion that could provide all the clean energy needed to sustain the planet. To handle it, he crafted 4 robotic arms to hold a sphere of nuclear energy. Since the robotic appendages are so complex, Otto has them linked to his brain, with an inhibitor chip to keep them from infiltrating his thoughts. Of course, the inhibitor chip breaks, and he goes mad. Classic tale. Doc Ock is played beautifully by Alfred Molina, who you sympathise with, but you also fear when he is deranged. It's been over 20 years since the audience were blessed with our first big screen Doc Ock vs Spider-Man beatdown in a scene that still looks amazing today. It's stylish and exhilarating as Spidey ducks in and out with Doc Ock on a fast-moving train. Now, the MCU, Marvel in general, loves fight sequences on trains, and it all started here. This one also ends as one of the most emotionally climactic fights, as our beloved friendly neighbourhood Spider-Man has to use all his power to stop the train before it flies off the track. Catch it on Netflix, Disney+, Fubu, Sling, YouTube, Amazon, Google and Fandango. Fubu? I might have said that wrong. Go watch it. What's your favourite Spider-Man? Mine's Tobey Maguire. I grew up on him, but I think they're all great, but I just love Tobey Maguire as well. Number 9. Thor Ragnarok. 2017's Thor Ragnarok dropped the most Shakespearean feel and serious tone of the first 2 films and brought an auteur, writer, director Taika Waititi. Waititi was best known at the time for his acclaimed cult film What We Do in the Shadows. He took Thor 3 to the more vibrant planet of Sakaar and stamped his offbeat sense of humour all over the film. Waititi also lets his leads, Chris Hemsworth, who plays the titular Thor, as well as the Mark Ruffalo, who first wowed the audiences playing Hulk in 2012's The Avengers, have a lot of their creative liberties with their characters. Thor Ragnarok was another Marvel Phase 3 team-up film which they just Hulk smashed out of the park. And let's face it, the marketing centred around Hulk and Thor finally going toe-to-toe in a Colosseum setting. Audiences have been dying to see these two overpowered Avengers brawl since, well, the Avengers, when Thor had to hold off the Hulk after his first transformation. And we all know Hulk was itching to battle Thor again ever since he casually punched him out of the frame during the battle in New York. Not only did Hulk and Thor finally get to throw down, it's absolutely glorious. These two are literally ripping up the walls of the stadium. They are fairly evenly matched since Thor doesn't have Mjolnir, but he does have swords and Hulk's battle axes, plus the callback to the Avengers when Hulk tossed around Loki like a ragdoll. Hulk using that same move on Thor while Loki cheers in the stands. Absolutely cinema. Even though much of the film is improvised, it was done effectively as the characters' interaction and dialogue felt real. Most importantly, underneath all the silliness was heart. Thor Ragnarok is a blast. Critics raved about the film and it remains one of the MCU's most beloved films. Watch it on Disney+, Amazon, Fandango, Google and YouTube. Number 10. The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Audiences have warmed to directors Mark Webb's The Amazing Spider-Man films in recent years, largely due to our ability to be more objective on retrospect. It also helps that fans have grown an appreciation for Andrew Garfield and his tenure as the titular hero thanks to the epic Spider-Man No Way Home. Although The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the worst reviewed of all the silver screen Spider-Man incarnations, 50% on Rotten Tomatoes ain't so bad all things considered. One of the highlights of the Amazing Spider-Man series was the Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker relationship, which was ballisted by the undeniable chemistry between Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield. Another highlight is that the film had some of the best action sequences in the entire of live-action Spider-Man films at that point, although they never quite hit the lofty emotional heights of the train sequence in Spider-Man 2 that we spoke about earlier. One of said kick-ass action scenes is the exhilarating and stylish final battle between Electro and Spider-Man in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. The two fight on a massive electrical power grid at night. The showdown, a flurry of Grecian bolts, the Spider-Man who was doing web-slinging gymnastics through the pillars of electricity. The colour palette and the lighting in this scene is gorgeous. The free-wielding camera makes the scene all that more exhilarating. The choice to use slow motion to capture particular action moments is visual poetry. This entire scene made it worth seeing in theatres alone, not just due to the scope of visuals, but it sounded so freaking cool too. I liked the bit where Electro started playing the itsy bitsy spider on the electric pillars with his lightning bolts. Kudos to Hans Zimmer and the Magnificent who collaborated on the score and gave Electro one of the coolest themes too. So swing over to Disney+, Fubo, Sling, Google, Fandango, YouTube and Amazon to stream it all. I definitely pronounced some things wrong then. I was like... A quick bonus, Avengers Infinity War, Thanos vs Avengers on Titan. No list of brutal superhero beatdowns would be complete without the absolute crushing victory Thanos had over the Avengers, especially his fight on the moon Titan, where he delivers an unforgettable ass whooping on several heroes in an outright visually stunning clash of superpowers. He smashes them into the ground, rips their armour off their bodies, even hurls chunks of another nearby moon at them, all while taunting them with a speech about being the inevitable winner. 2018's Avengers Infinity War broke all sorts of records when it released and was probably one, if not the most anticipated MCU release in the entire franchise. Go and catch it on Disney+. Okay, inevitable. I really struggled to get that one out. I had to record that like twice. I know how to say it, but couldn't miss with you. Thank you for checking out the video. Did we leave any films off the list? Please let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, share and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to tap the bell icon so you can stay up to date with all our latest releases. You can reach out to us on Twitter, also known as X, at StudioFat, or chat with us on Discord, which will be linked down below. Make sure to check out our very own merch store, which is located at fatninja.shop. All proceeds go towards our next film project, so we greatly appreciate any support from you. I've been your host Sarah, and thanks again, and have an absolutely beautiful day.